Hey everybody, welcome back once again to the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast, number 106. This is your host, Mitch.
And this is Mike, 106.
Every time I look at this, I'm like, holy crap, are we really at 106? Oh my god, now that just hit me. Actually, really hit me.
Yeah, it's a lot of them, man. We've been doing it for a few years, more regularly now. We kind of were on and off and had some identity crisis, but yeah, we've been rolling, man. It's been we've talked about a lot of stuff. I remember like our third episode. So unfortunately, like I lost like the first 5 episodes.
No, that's not unfortunate at all.
Actually, technically, it's not unfortunate. We were very there was some questionable content in those, but I think it was like episode 3. We opened up with like and it was we were talking about the cluster fizzle that was Microsoft and their Xbox One launch with the television and then the TV and then the games and then the TV and then the talk to it. Yeah, so I think that was like episode 3 or 4 or something like that.
Really? I thought it was like somewhere further in. But
maybe it was. I don't know.
In the teens or something.
Oh, episode 4 we lost, actually, like, at one. I don't know.
Remember one time we recorded like an entire episode, I think, and then like we lost it? Was that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that was episode 4.
It was like the lost episode.
And we were like, well, that was a good podcast, but fuck it.
Damn it. Actually,
I was trying to go this whole episode without swearing. I made it in exactly a minute 30 before I said fuck.
Well, that's an improvement.
I was out for a walk today at work, walking around the halls, and I was like, man, you know what? There's a lot of podcasts out there I really enjoy where, like, they don't swear much. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to try that. I should be able to. I make great points at work all the time. I'm in meetings all the time, and I don't have to swear to get my point across. I'm going to try to not swear on the podcast, and then I made it a minute 32.
I'm nothing without my swears.
Swears are nice. I like swears.
Yep. So what you got, man? What we got this week? We got a lot of stuff.
Yeah, we do.
Where do you want to start? Oh, shit.
I've got a man-sized predicament, and it's a big one. Goes like this.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, man-sized predicaments.
Nice. You got a man-sized predicament?
I don't really have a man-sized predicament, but I did want to play that, and so I decided to play it. This actually isn't video game related, but since I wanted to tell you more about it, I thought I'd kick the show off with it.
I'm in, man. Anytime, there's any excuse is a good excuse to play that.
Yeah, I'm with you. So this weekend, I told you a little bit about this loosely, but so I had one of these weekends where I kind of did my budget because I looked at last year and I was like, oh boy, I'm trying to move. We got the kid now. We want to get out of this house into something nicer. And I was kind of like, okay, I can't spend the way I used to, so I
can't make it rain constantly.
I can't do what I just can't worry about myself all the time anymore. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna go through a budget, take a look at what I spent last year, and really, really go through that. I looked at what I spent last year, and I was like, fuck, wowzers, bad number on. Just a real high number. I mean, a variety of headphones and everything else. We know the story. I've talked about it. My headphone had like all that shit. So I'm telling Carrie, and this is like Saturday morning. I'm telling Carrie, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to change. We can change some of the spending habits here. I'm going to be a little smarter about what I buy, stuff like that. And then I wake up Sunday morning, and I check Slick Deals.
Your mortal enemy.
So I'm already a step behind the game because I know better than to check Slick Deals. And I see this audio interface, a Focusrite 18i20, and so it's 18 inputs, 20 outputs. And people are like, why do you need that many inputs and outputs? Well, I don't really need that many inputs, but I do need that many outputs for like a couple headphone amps, a couple studio monitors, a subwoofer, some other patching. And usually this thing is $500.
Man-sized predicament.
Usually this thing's like $500. And like literally 3 weeks ago, I was telling Carrie about this thing. I'm like, fuck, I really want it. She's like, Mike, no. I'm like, yeah, you're right. It's $500. I can't do it. But that was until Slick Deals and Adorama.com had it for $360. And I had a $25 sitting in my Amex, and I had $25 off by using my Amex. So I was like, I gotta do it. You can't.
I don't have a choice.
You can't save money unless you spend money. I'm saving $200 by spending $300. That's
dope ass logic, dude.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm going to sell the interface that I have now, which I should be able to get about $200 for. So it's technically like a $100 upgrade, which is worth it. But I mean, it's still a cash flow thing. But I pulled the trigger anyway. It's going to be dope. So I get to once I get my other headphone amp soldered back together, I will. I'll have that interface by the end of the week. It's going to be dope. And I can hook everything up to it, and that's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You got a man-sized predicament?
Not really. Not really a man-sized predicament, you know? Like, you could totally play the music again if you want to.
Let me tell you my story. I've got a man-sized predicament. And it's a big one. Goes like this. Yeah.
Ow.
Thanks, Gene.
All right, cool. Thanks. So it's not really a man-sized predicament. So, but this weekend is the weekend that I go pick up the taxi. And for those of you that are like, you're picking up a taxi for what?
You're like, I'm really getting into Uber. So.
Right. No, I'm actually picking up a Williams taxi, the pinball machine. It's going to be awesome. No, actually it's going to suck, but the result is going to be awesome. The trip is actually going to be 10 and a half hours on Saturday. So, Mike, I hope you're available at some point to help me waste the time on this freaking trip. It's going to be horrible. I really don't want to go, you know?
Are you renting a U-Haul this time?
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing, just getting a cargo van, and unfortunately one of my buddies was like, hey, I've got something else for you to pick up on, and I'm like, oh, okay, whatever. So, yeah, it's gonna suck pretty hard.
Yeah, I would direct you to some hilarious fart videos that I'm not going to mention really in detail.
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, you know, anyway, it's totally going to suck, but I've been excited.
So it's a round trip, 10-hour round trip, right?
10.5-hour round trip.
Okay,
yep.
Yeah. It's like, fuck, 10 hours each direction. You picking this thing up in Minneapolis? What the hell?
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, so yeah, it's a round trip, but it's still like, oh man, I so don't want to do that. I got to get up early on Saturday, get the truck, head out, pick it up, come back. It's gonna be dark out by the time I get home. Like, it's just not something I'm looking forward to. I am, in fact, though, looking forward to actually getting the machine. Like, I'm getting a hell of a deal on it. Look, this thing looks like, yeah, it needs some love. It definitely needs some love. But one of the cool things, I think I told you about this earlier, was I'm gonna try to get into kind of restoring playfields. Did I tell you about that?
You had mentioned it, yeah.
Okay, so I pulled the trigger because I sold all my Nintendo Versus stuff. I sold the last board like today, I think, and I came out like a madman on that. It was crazy. I have so much money from that crap. So I was like, screw it. I'll buy an airbrush kit. It comes with like the compressor and stuff and like the airbrush pen and stuff. So I was telling Mike, I was like, if your girl or if your baby mama needs a new vehicle, I can come over there and spray paint and airbrush one of those wolves, like howling at the moon or something on the side of her new vehicle. If you want,
I would like that.
Yeah. So anyway, I got all the stuff for it, so I'm gonna try my hand at it. And it seems like one of those things. There's this guy. Oh man, I can't remember what. It's like a 3-letter word. On pins. Okay, well maybe it's butt.
And.
But yeah, exactly. Anyway, this guy has this amazing kind of write-up on how to step-by-step go through touching up play fields or even fully restoring them and stuff. So I am and the guy has all these write-ups on everything that's amazing on Pinside, and I can't remember his name, so I guess it doesn't matter. But I'm stoked. I'm actually looking forward to it. The taxi's going to be my, one of my test things on here. Now I have like the Mylar decals for it and stuff like that, and I could go that route, but I'm kind of like, no, I think I can do it the other way. It's going to take a long time, but I don't care. I'm really kind of getting it for like such a great price that, whatever. I've wanted a taxi for a while, and I'm excited. So, so that's this weekend and on Saturday. So by Sunday, by our next podcast, I'll probably be saying, "Oh my God, I can't believe I took a 10-hour road trip to pick up this piece of shit." That's probably going to be my response.
Yeah.
I'll forget that I said it at that point, so act surprised when I say that next week.
Okay, will do.
Anyway, moving on. Where do we go from here? Are you going to hit that again?
I was trying to, but it's not working real well again. I was, why the hell didn't that work? What did I do? Huh, I don't know. Something.
Either way, I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, let me see if I can hear. Let's try this again. Yeah, something went wonky with it. All right, screw it. The only other predicament that I had here, let me undo that.
It's like the man-sized predicament.
Yeah, so here's the thing. I got the Grand Mac at McDonald's. They have like the...
Yeah. I was like, like Macintosh?
I figured out that like if you're a Big Mac fan, like the Big Mac is probably as much Big Mac as you actually need.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's about it.
It was gross, or was it gross, or just too much?
Just too much Big Mac. And like the normal size Big Mac, the middle bun always slides out and it makes a fucking mess anyway. And like
it's like a sponge.
Yeah, like it was just that, but worse. So.
Yeah. You pretty much just have to like eat it before you take a shower or something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
Well, this is like the unappropriate man-sized predicament. Unappropriate. What am I thinking? Inappropriate man-sized predicament episode.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know why that third one didn't work. Hopefully, I didn't like. I'm technically running a line into one of my XLRs, which you're not supposed to do. So hopefully, I didn't to get the man-sized predicaments to work. So hopefully, I didn't just blow out my microphone preamp on that input.
Cue the fart sound.
Yeah, exactly. So man, we got a lot this week. Speaking of that, we're 12 minutes in. I didn't even mention the contact information. RetroGameFix.com, Twitter.com, Facebook.com, YouTube.com/RetroGameFix, 678-995-5103, or questions at RetroGameFix.com. But we're most active on Twitter, so you can always talk to us there. So it's a lot of fun. What do we got? Man, we got a lot today. I want to hit on WiiU, give that thing a good farewell. I had some good conversations on Twitter yesterday with some people and some this morning, so hit on some of that. There was some news. There's some mixed messaging coming out about the Nintendo Classic production. Sega is re-releasing Yakuza 1, 2, 3, and 4. So 1 and 2 on PS2, and then 3 on PlayStation 3, and I think 4 is on PS4 maybe, or maybe it's just 1, 2, and 3. But anyway, that's pretty cool. I want to hit on collectors and limited editions and maybe talk that out a little bit. There's a little bit of a misunderstanding on Twitter, so I won't go too deep into that. I will touch on part of it because I do want to address some of those tweets, but there was a larger conversation I was going after there, and I looked back at my tweets and I can understand how it was misunderstood, but I thought I was pretty clear. And then I started my Game Gear fix, played RE7. I've got a hilarious story about that. Abzu, you need to play it. From similar, It's kind of similar to Journey. I started Watch Dogs. Ghouls and Ghosts and Master System pricing seem to be going up, but maybe not. And then Wonder Boy, and I'm sure we can mix some Switch in there. So we've got a ton of topics. I don't know if we'll get through all of them, but what do you think? Should we start with the Wii U and bid it farewell? And then production is over. The Switch is here in 20 days.
Yeah, definitely.
So here's the thing about the Wii U. We both know that the Wii U had a ton of shortcomings, right? Mixed messaging. People didn't know what the hell it was. Marketing. People didn't know what it was. It didn't really differentiate itself. And if you think about it, the Wii sold, I think 110 million units, which is absurd because you had grandparents buying it and all these people.
That's what I'm saying.
Crazy.
Wii Fit and all this new stuff, like all the middle-aged people had their, I don't know, every middle-aged person I know had a Wii.
Yeah, and so I think the next closest to that Nintendo sold, I think the 3DS hit 60 million. I think that was their next bestseller. And I don't
ever.
Yeah, and
even the NES.
Yeah, the NES. I can pull it up here. I had it bookmarked, but I think the next best one was 40 million. I think for the N64. But anyway, so it's like, I don't know what, obviously the Wii U hitting, so here, let me run down the list here. So the NES sold 60 million, the Game Boy sold 118 million, Super Nintendo sold 50 million, Nintendo 64 sold 32 million, Game Boy Advance 81 million, GameCube 21 million, DS 153 million, the Wii sold 100 million, 101 million essentially, 3DS 40 million. So, and this was from 2 years ago. I've got it off IGN here. And the Wii U only, I think, came in at close to 10 million. But the point being is, obviously, it was not a commercial success by any stretch of the imagination.
By the way, that list that just tells you, like, Nintendo is and always will be the king of the handheld markets. Like the DS numbers and the Game Boy numbers. Just all that stuff. Holy crap!
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. But I mean, so going into the Wii U, there was a lot wrong with that, right? I think they wanted to still capitalize on the Wii footprint, but like Waggle was over at that point, and then they were carrying over a lot of the hey, use your nunchucks and all this other crap you probably already have, and then here's a gamepad that we're really not sure what it's for, but here's a gamepad, right? And I think they're probably thinking. Yeah. Hey, the DS has been super successful. Let's take that same dual screen experience to the living room. The problem there is it doesn't really work when you have to like move your head and look down at a second gamepad. Like, it just wasn't intuitive and it wasn't a lot of fun. And as far as inventory systems go, I'd rather just hit pause, right? I don't need to look at a gamepad. But that said, man, I really loved my Wii U, and kind of posting stuff on Twitter. I heard a lot of podcasts talking about how Wii U owners maybe feel burned, and I took that to Twitter, and a lot of people tweeted back and said, well, I kind of felt burned for a variety of reasons as well, and some of them I agreed with, some of them I didn't. But for me, my biggest point is I don't know one Wii U owner that only owns a Wii U. Right, everybody I know with a Wii U already has a Xbox or a PS4 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I know some like, really there's some younger kids maybe that are like under 10 or something like that maybe have a Wii U and nothing else. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, I'm with you.
Right, and then there's kind of like, well, it didn't have any support, or Nintendo didn't really support it, and I don't agree. I know Nintendo came out and said that, and I think they were kind of trying to soften the blow, but I took a picture of my 42 Wii U games, and not all of them were Nintendo published, but there was, maybe people have more time than me, but I certainly didn't get through all 42 of those games, and some of that was collecting, but I played a lot of them. And I enjoyed a lot of them. And, I'm kind of two minds, right? I'm not here to change anybody's mind about the Wii U, but, if you bought a Wii U expecting third-party support or all this other stuff, it's like you're buying it for the wrong reason, right? And we've talked about this with the Switch is, I bought it to play great Nintendo games. And for the most part, I got great Nintendo games. Donkey Kong, Yoshi, Kirby, even though it was primarily a tablet experience. A couple, excuse me, a couple a side-scrolling Mario, a side-scrolling Luigi, a 3D Mario, another Pikmin. I mean, and I could go on and on and on about the games, but, regardless of the fact that it felt like a cheap kid's toy you would get out of a Happy Meal, despite the fact that it wasn't powerful, despite the fact that no one knew what the hell to do with the gamepad, despite the fact that the marketing was shit, despite the fact that it was way more expensive than it probably should have been, despite the fact that it only lasted 4 years, which is a tough pill for a lot of people to swallow, I got a lot of mileage out of that thing, and I'm glad it existed. And I know a lot of people don't agree with me on a lot of those. I know a lot of people didn't have as much fun as I did, but I don't know. I thought it was a great system, and I think if anybody's looking or wants one, you're probably going to be able to find them cheap. And there's a nice library of games, and I think it's totally justifiable to pick one up now.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's kind of it. I know
it's gonna, and unfortunately, it's gonna go down as one of those forgotten systems for sure. Like. The Switch is the Switch, on the other hand, is already picking up a lot of steam. People that I know don't even know a whole lot about video games in general are excited about the Switch that I've been talking to, which is surprising. But yeah, unfortunately, the Wii U, it's going to go down as kind of one of those like kind of obscure machines, probably.
Yeah, it really probably will. And and I know a lot of the argument was. Well, there's a lot that, does Nintendo, it also brings up the other thing. Should Nintendo go third party, all this other stuff? And, I'm kind of the mind right now that I wish, I'm almost kind of sick of having a PlayStation 4, an Xbox, a Wii, all these things on the market. Like, technically speaking, you could probably get away with just one box on the market. Like, my Xbox is literally a Forza box.
Mm-hmm.
Right, my PlayStation and a Destiny box. My PlayStation 4 is everything else, and my Wii U is Nintendo games. Like, if there was one box I could just play all of that on, that would be awesome. But that's never going to happen, right? All of these manufacturers are hardware manufacturers or in the business of hardware, designing hardware. They're game publishers and they're game developers, depending on how their first-party relationships go. And I don't know the business aspect of how much their hardware sales drive profitability, but none of them want to give up their hardware arm. And I don't, no one says Microsoft should give up on hardware because the Xbox didn't sell well. And it didn't, obviously, apples to oranges, the Wii U was a colossal failure commercially, but I'm not ready to be in a world without Nintendo hardware yet. I'm just not.
No, man, I think that would be the saddest of all. Look, like, yeah, if Xbox ever folded, it'd be like, oh, that sucks.
It's Microsoft. It's Microsoft, though, right? You're like, well, it is what it is.
Yeah. PlayStation, man, it was a good run. But Nintendo would be like, no, that would keep me up at night, probably.
Yeah. And so, and I think the thing that we're seeing here with the Switch is the fact that, if given the option, I would rather have if you're just like, hey, Mike, you can own two systems. I'm going to go with one of these three. A PC, a PlayStation 4, an Xbox, and then I'm going to go with something that's different, and that's always Nintendo, and I'm glad it's there. It doesn't need to be everything to everybody, and, I fall into this trap where I'm like, no, you should like it. You should really like it, right? And the truth is, every product isn't for every person, and it's fine for people not to like it, and it's fine for me to like it, and that goes both ways, right? Like, I might like something, it doesn't mean everybody else has to.
Yeah.
And I think the Switch, I don't know if the Switch is going to sell well, right? But I think
it will. I'm sure it will. We can talk about that in a bit too.
Yeah. But I was just saying, I think that for the most part, if Nintendo was going to succeed with another hardware, some more hardware, a console, I think this was the best chance they had at succeeding, because they certainly, another PlayStation 4 box was not going to be their best opportunity here. And like I said, I think it's going to do well. But only time will tell. But I still think this was their best shot at doing well. So we'll see. And they did just come out and say that 3DS will be supported through 2017. So it looks like you'll get another year of probably some loose support for 3DS. And then it sounds like it's going to be the Switch or some sort of Switch family of products, right? So.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm excited. And like I said, I wanted to bid farewell to the Wii U, and I know a lot of people got a lot of shit, and deservingly so in a lot of areas, but commercial success didn't change my opinion of the games on that system, and I really enjoyed it. So
yeah, absolutely. And kind of to I guess just to transition just a little bit here, like the Switch, I think Nintendo's really, as marketing wise, has really learned from their mistakes on the Wii U, and are really kind of pulling out all the stops this time around. And oh gosh, you could transition to any number of things with this particular thing, but like, you know, you look at what they've just been creating all this hype and all this buzz around Nintendo. We talked about that before with the mobile. You know, the mobile game, then you have the Nintendo Classic, you have all this stuff where they're kind of like, you know, and I guess I would probably steer us towards the Nintendo Classic discussion first.
Yeah, let's go there.
And, you know, and as you had alluded to earlier, there's kind of a mixed message on kind of what's going on with that next. I had actually just read an article today, and I believe, did you read the same article?
Yeah, like, it would have been one of the similar ones, yeah, about the them up in production, yeah.
Yeah, they were going to up the production, and they were going to be, you know, for sale normally at that point or whatever. So then Mike sends me, 2 hours later, sends me an article of what?
An article that I think is from like Sweden or something, or Norway or something like that, saying that there was a couple game stores out there that got word that the Nintendo Classic or the NES Classic was intended to be essentially just a promotional tool to drive buzz around the Nintendo Switch, and that production was ending.
Right. Well, first of all, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, it was to drive the Nintendo Switch sales, and it probably is going to be ending, and that would make so much sense for Nintendo as much as I'm just kind of slapping my head and being like, whatever, you know, as far as that goes. It totally makes sense for Nintendo just to pull the wool out from everybody and be like, nope, actually it's done. If you got one, cool. If you didn't get one, whatever. And then, you know, what's going to be on people's minds? Nintendo, that damn Nintendo. Good or bad, you know, who was it that said publicity, good or bad, is always good, you know?
Right, because at this point, right, anytime that these Nintendo Classic conversations come up, it's always like, oh, by the way, the Nintendo Switch is out, right? And so...
right.
Yeah, I mean, and this is going to segue a little bit into the collector's editions thing, and I didn't expect this to pop up, but it's the thing that I actually hate most about some of the stuff that Nintendo does. But yeah, I mean, it's going to work out for them. Either way, it's going to have worked out for them. I mean, if they make more, they're going to sell more. If they don't make more, it probably served its purpose. But that does piss me off. That one pisses me the fuck off. Like I really feel like that kind of stuff they should be. Look, Nintendo doesn't owe it to anybody to tell us what amount of numbers they're going to be moving, but I feel like, you know, being open about what kind of supply there was going to be for these things, like, you know, like, it's going to kind of segue, but like limited edition NES Classic, right? And so it kind of sets that expectation up front, but looking at this thing, you just go like, fuck, man, there's going to be a lot of people that didn't get it. And I think that's fine. There's other options, but... you know,
you could just right now they're $100 on second-hand market as of the last couple of weeks.
Well, and that might be a steal if they're really ending production.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the thing, who knows? They might have just jumped up in price after that came out. But yeah, I saw, you know, I've seen them everywhere for like $100 now. So people are making, you know, with eBay fees and all that crap, you're making like nothing.
Yeah,
you know?
Essentially nothing. Yeah, I mean, here's one for $150 with 40 seconds left with 0 bids.
Yeah, exactly.
But here's one.
Well, they were selling for like 200 and something like a month ago, right?
Yeah, like 250. And now here's one that was modded, and somebody modded it and put up all the games on it, and that one's at 390 right now. But then I don't know why the fuck anybody would spend 390. You could buy the one for 100 and drop a Raspberry Pi in it, and I don't know, whatever. I'm not going to get on. I'm not going to get on that soapbox.
Soft mod, yeah.
Yeah, I'm not going to get on that soapbox, but. Yeah. So anyway, I mean, you know, they're out there. I mean, if you're looking, you keep a pulse on that market and see where it goes. Because if you really want one, I guess you might end up having to go second market on it. But
I don't think I do though. Like I still don't have one. And you even told me last week about how Amazon Prime Now or whatever that is, like had them available last week, right?
Yeah. It was just like, I don't know. I mean, he's not going to play it, you know.
I so am just like, I would have bought one on launch day. In fact, I went to a couple places and looked late, I guess. I mean, when the places actually opened as opposed to standing in lines. But, like, I would have bought one that day. I was ready. I had my $60. I was ready to buy, and now I'm just like, I don't think I want one. I'm not gonna play it.
Yeah,
I have all those games on the original hardware. I don't need any more stuff. Like right now, I don't know. Right now, I'm just being stingy as far as all that crap goes too, because I need to see when I get this taxi, like how big of a money pit that's gonna be. So
yeah, for sure.
I just don't. I can live without it. Let's put it that way. I just don't care. You know, I don't need it just to have it.
I feel you. Well, speaking of limited editions of things, apparently, this early last week, I think probably, well, it wasn't early. It was, I think, Wednesday or Thursday. I was trying to make a point about people that get angry about limited edition things that sell out, even though the marketing's very clear up front about the limited availability of said products. And in trying to make that point, I used Limited Run Games as an example of a company that essentially markets their product the same way, but doesn't take crap. And I understand why they don't take crap, so I'll address those tweets later. Trust me, I understand the economics of it. I'll get to that after this. But, you know, with Limited Run Games, right, their company's called Limited Run. They essentially, I believe, usually print up 3,500 of whatever limited run they're doing. The games that they do a limited run version for are only digitally available otherwise, right? So they kind of have this service that they're saying, hey, we're going to license these games, we're going to manufacture an amount that we know we can sell through, and we're going to make them available. You know when they're going to go on sale, you can get in and get one, and if you don't get one, that's kind of on you, and you're probably going to have to go to a second, eBay or something. I think that's 100% fine. And
so let me pause you right there. Mm-hmm. How hard is it to get one of these, like during the run?
Oh, it's usually not very difficult, right? I mean, if you're there if you're online within, it's not like they sell out within minutes.
Right, that's what I'm asking.
Right, so you can get online, you can get a hold of them. So that's not a big deal. But what I was getting at there was, here's a company that's taking games only available digitally, making a limited run of physical copies. That's great for collectors, people that require physical, all that good stuff. And they're putting them out there in a limited variety, and they're being very upfront about that. And people love them, and that's awesome. And I kind of went into that detail, like, look, here's this company that's doing it this way, and then said, and I'm kind of paraphrasing, but if Nintendo does it, they're assholes. Right? Because, Final Fantasy, most recently, Final Fantasy 15 had a limited edition. The Zelda Master Edition on Wii, the Switch coming out, had a limited edition. And not everybody, but I've heard a lot of grumblings about, like, screw Square Enix, screw Nintendo, why aren't they making more, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, these companies, again, were very upfront about the fact that these things are going to be limited.
Right.
They weren't really as upfront about when they were going to go on sale, so that's a little sketchy. But for the most part, it's like, hey, these things are fucking limited, and they were available for long enough to get one, right? So on the night that the Switch got announced, I could have bought a Master Edition. I didn't. I wish I would have, but I was an idiot. And I had also a chance at the Final Fantasy 15 one, and people just hate it. And it's like Nintendo said, and Square Enix, when they're gone, they're gone. And then it goes back. Everyone's like, fuck Nintendo, fuck this, fuck that. And it's like, I don't have a problem with it if it's up front. And in this example, you can still actually get a physical copy of the game, right? So it's like, it's not like limited run where, I mean, that's the other part where, like, I guess it depends which way you want to look at the argument. In the case of limited run, you're only offered a very small scope. And again, I understand why. I'm not going to get into that argument again. I mean, again, I will touch on it after this. But
I checked it out on Twitter. I'm like, man, I bet they kept you busy all week.
And I just had to keep telling people, like, yo, I wasn't ripping on limited run games. I commend limited run games. Jesus fuck. So, so on one hand, at least with the like Zelda and this, it's big companies, but at least you can still get your hands on a physical copy. On the other hand, this other company is doing limited runs and really kind of doing the gaming community a favor, right? My bigger point was the messaging is almost identical between the two. We're releasing a limited run of this game. Get in and get one, and if you don't, you can't get it anymore. And on one hand, people love it, and on another hand, that they don't. And personally, if it comes to a limited edition thing, I kind of like a collector's edition. I kind of like the limited nature of it. And if I don't get one,
except for the Nintendo Mini.
Well, and that's the one where I'm calling bullshit because they were never clear about what the hell they were doing with that up front. Again, they don't need to. Like,
it's ambiguous about the entire thing.
Yeah, completely. But I'm fine with it either way. And it's like, well, if you don't get one, you don't. I mean, how do you feel about that? I mean, if they're clear about it, like, hey, this is a limited edition, get in or or you don't get one. I mean, do you have a problem with that?
I can't see me ever having a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, me either. Now let me throw this one at you. Which way do you look at collector's editions? Because when I think of collector's edition, I think of something that's collectible and also in limited availability. But the other way I feel like someone could look at it is, hey, this is a collector's edition made for the hardcore fans. Maybe there should be a larger, higher availability for these packages, so anybody that loves Zelda, for example, can get one if they want to spend the premium to get all of the tchotchkes and the swag.
So what are you asking?
Do you feel like a collector's edition implies that it's going to be limited availability, or do you think collector's edition is like, hey, this is for the hardcore fans and there should be high availability so anybody that wants one can get one?
It depends. I've seen them both, like I've seen both ways. Like I don't really think I think it should be any particular way. Like collector's edition to me, I guess for the most part means that it's in limited quantities, so like a limited run. Like if you miss out, you miss out.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about it too. So, anyway,
I had to think about it for like 10 seconds, but yeah, that's it.
So anyway, I'm going to address the tweets, and I'm going to address them briefly because it was obviously a misunderstanding. But limited run never posting anything after they went on a 7-tweet tirade at me. After I was like, yo, calm down, it wasn't at you. They tweeted like, hey, we're the assholes, and what people like you don't understand is the economics, and we don't want to sit on inventory. It's like, how do I want to put this? Trust me, I understand the economics of it. It's moving. Moving 7,000 units a quarter, or whatever the hell it is, and managing the distribution and the manufacturing and the licensing channels in order to do that while releasing a quantity you can sell through, so you're minimizing risk completely and aren't sitting on inventory. In that example, sitting on inventory could be a costly endeavor. I understand the goddamn economics. That's all. I just want to get that off my chest. The economics in this instance aren't that big of a deal, and the 7-tweet tirade and me having to deal with people coming at me all freaking week because of those 7 tweets irritated the hell out of me, and I'm just like, trust me when I tell you, I understand the economics of the business model. I don't understand all the partnerships and everything else they're doing, but I get minimizing risk in order to sell through your quantity. I get it. It's not rocket science. It's college level, it's probably high school level economics. So I just wanted to get that out there and stop tweeting me about it. I wasn't ripping on limited run games. I really wish they'd have been like retweeted the one that I was like very like, hey, it wasn't at you. Hey, you guys are really great. I wish they would have retweeted those ones so everybody could have stopped fucking tweeting me.
You got trolled, son.
I did get trolled. Feels shitty to be on the other side of that.
Yeah, maybe you learned a lesson.
No.
I didn't think so.
No, I did not learn
old dog and new tricks.
But yeah, so trust me, I applaud here. I applaud. That's for you, limited run.
Me too. I don't even really know. Yeah. I didn't even pay attention to the conversation that you had on Twitter. But.
Yeah. Well, it ended fine. It's just like I tweeted before I went to work. I got to work, went to a meeting, and checked the Twitter, and all of a sudden I'm like, I had like 38 mentions in like an hour, and I was like, what the hell just happened?
You know what? Let me reiterate a point that I just made when I was quoting someone as saying, any publicity is good publicity, right?
I guess, but yeah, I mean, this shit was going up until, like, literally this morning I got another one from a guy, and that's when I just posted. I was like, for like the 10th time, I don't have a problem with limited run. I was trying to make a light point about the fact that essentially the same marketing, not even the same marketing, but there's just a very general message about the limited availability of something. On one hand, people don't care, and on the other hand, people care. That was it. And it fucking turned into this huge thing.
You should have just tweeted him back that D. Snyder hitting that guy video.
Oh.
He's like, at the end of it, he's like, oh.
So anyway, I apologize for any stress that I gave limited run when they decided to generalize any podcast. I'm sure they get trolled a lot about it, but it was not my intent. So I apologize to anybody. And fucking God, that was hell. That was hell. Every time I'd log in, I'd see like 15 freaking mentions. I was like, oh, God. Do I even want to look at these? And then I'd look at them, and I'd like, God damn it.
That's great.
So that's over. So I just wanted.
I'm not sorry.
So I just wanted to clarify that. I get that it was a small argument that unfortunately I reread what I tweeted, and I can certainly understand how it came across that way. It wasn't my intent. So that's that.
Right on.
But that doesn't transition into really anything. Was I telling you about the Yakuza stuff on the podcast, or was that before the podcast?
You're telling before. I mean, you really didn't tell me anything about it, but
okay, it was before the podcast then.
I saw a little bit about that this week.
So, speaking of limited stuff, Yakuza 0 just came out on PlayStation 4, and I bought it. I haven't had
like a prequel.
I haven't quite figured that out yet, but let me. I was thinking when I had seen that earlier, I was thinking Reckless, the Yakuza mission from like Xbox. That was like one of my first Xbox games that I ever owned. I think I bought it from Foster my buddy Foster for like $5 or something. Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, that's totally not even the right franchise. I didn't even have a PS2. PS2 was one of the consoles that I just never had owned for some reason or another.
Yeah, well, anyway, so Yakuza 0 comes out. There's they've kind of always had a cult following a little bit, but yeah, Sega came out I think the big deal here is Yakuza 2 is on PlayStation 2 was a really tough find, and generally it went in the $100-$150 range. And so if you want a PlayStation 2 copy of that, you can get one on Amazon, I think, right now for $49.99. So, and again, those will be available in limited quantities. So if you want one, I would go get one now.
So tell me that again. So that's re-released on PlayStation 2?
Yeah, so they reprinted the originals, right? So Yakuza 1 and 2, if you buy it, it's a PlayStation 2 game that you're actually buying, and then 3 and 4 are PlayStation 3 games. So they're out of print. So they put the original versions back in print. So it's kind of cool to be like, hey, I'm going to go buy a brand new PlayStation 2 game right now.
Yeah, that is pretty awesome.
So I may jump on the 2 PlayStation 2 games.
That's actually super cool. I love that. I guess I don't know. I love it when they re-release stuff for old systems. Like, that's so cool. Or released stuff for old systems. I always think that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
hopefully I'm sure there'll be some sort of differentiator so those with original prints still have their collectible copies, because it's like, hey, if you got one of those old collectible copies, I hope they stay that way. But for those that don't want to spend $150 on a Yakuza 2 game, there you go.
Well, I suppose they probably differentiated it one way or another. Like, if you look down the back, it probably says, yo, scalp a mic, yo.
So, I'm looking at it right now. If you go to Amazon right now and search for Yakuza 2, $49.99 plus $6 shipping, and it is in stock. So, you can get one for yourself.
That's pretty cool, I think.
So, yeah, I might grab those. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool thing when companies do that. So
I think it is. I think that's super cool. Good job, Sega.
Yeah, good job. They did something neat.
That's interesting too, because it's a Sega game, and the Sega folded. Wasn't it right after the PlayStation 2 was released?
Yeah, it would have been shortly after, because the Dreamcast, I think, stayed up for another 6 months after that, and then
it was. So yeah, that's interesting that Sega flopped right over and released something for their competitor that essentially helped put them out of business in a couple of years. Yeah. Well, no, I guess it was a couple of years. It was maybe 2002.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah, I'm not gonna pull it up, but yeah.
No, I'm saying that Yakuza was released in when? 2000.
The first one?
Yeah.
I don't have the.
It was okay. Never mind.
I didn't pull up the full detail. It looks like it was.
It doesn't matter.
2005, actually.
Oh, okay. So, all right, they didn't just flop over. I was under the impression.
For 2006 in North America. So yeah.
All right, I got you. Never mind.
So yeah, they didn't roll over right away. But yeah, I love shit like that, man. That's super cool. I actually wish more places would go back and be like, hey, we're gonna re-release a couple PlayStation 2 games if you want them. I think if I own the originals, I'd probably want some sort of differentiator, because I wouldn't want it to tank.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
Like my first, an original print copy, but, and I'm sure there's collectors out there that are fucking gonna lose their minds and be like, no, you don't ever want them to reprint it. I'm just not that serious, and I'm not that serious about PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 games to care if they re-release something, so. Nah.
Especially PlayStation 2 and 3.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know.
So where should we move? You want to move into Abzu, since you played Journey 180 times, or maybe talk some Sega Master System?
Since you said those in that order, let's just go in that order.
Tackle in that order. So here's the deal, man. Abzu, and I want to just make sure this is 100% accurate. But anyway, I downloaded Abzu. I got it on a Black Friday sale from the PlayStation Store. I got Abzu for Abzu isn't even the same people. But anyway, so Abzu was getting compared to Journey in a lot of ways.
Okay, so it wasn't the same publisher.
It is not. It's not the same developer.
It's a similar type of game.
It's a similar type of game. Yeah, it's not the same as Journey was called That Game Studio, and Giant Squid Games did Abzu. I don't know if there's some similarities there, but anyway, Abzu got a lot of comparisons to Journey just based on its kind of whimsical nature of the game, right? So you played Journey, obviously, at 5, 6, 7 times or something like that?
Oh, a lot more than that. Yeah. I probably played it 20 times. I probably played it all the way to 20. I mean, it was only an hour and a half, 2 hours long?
Hour and a half, 2 hours, yeah. Let me ask you something about Journey. Journey was a weird game. So I'm an emotional person. I cry a lot. But Journey was the first game that I had an actual emotional reaction to, and I didn't know why, right? Once I got to the end, I think just the score and kind of the art style and everything else about that game, I think it just there was a culmination of feelings that I had by the time that I got to the end of that game that I kind of teared up a little bit. And did you have anything similar to that?
I don't know if I teared up, but I could understand it. The score was just amazing, and the visuals and just the atmosphere of the entire game was it kind of sucked you in, and given the cycle of this entire thing, which I don't know if anybody would even care if I gave spoilers at this point anyways, but it's your cycle of life, basically, right?
Right.
And I by the way, you sent me that. I was just looking at that already.
Gotcha.
But anyway, yeah, I mean, because you're born in the beginning, and then you die, and then you're reborn. Like, so it's, I don't know, I guess just the content, like the subject nature, the score, is beautiful. Like, the entire game is just gorgeous, and like, just, I don't know, it just really sucks you in, like this whole being's life cycle, and it's, I don't know, I can understand it. I get it.
Yeah. So anyway, Abzu, I pick up Abzu because it doesn't look exactly similar, obviously. So it takes place underwater.
It's just like an amorphous being type thing, or
yeah, and
maybe that's the similarity to Journey or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it just gets a lot of comparisons there. But I'm sitting there. Journey art director is the one that opened Giant Squid Game. So there's the connection there.
I gotcha.
So the art director, so that's why they have kind of the same art direction. But anyway, so here's the thing. You have the kid now. So this game's about 2.5 hours long from what I understand. But I booted up, and right away I played it for 5-6 minutes just to see what it was all about. And then I turned it off, and then once I had a little more time, I booted it back up, and I got to play it for about an hour. And it's no Journey, and I think, and it's, I don't want to make those comparisons directly, but I think once you have an experience like Journey and you find something similar, it's hard not to try to make comparisons.
Sure.
And I think the best thing you can do going into Abzu is forget Journey is a thing, because they're different games. They look the same, and some of it feels similar, and you're always going to be wanting to compare it, but it's not that. And it's very abstract in a way that I can't. My experience would probably be different than your experience, but the controls and just swimming through the ocean, and the art style that you see, and the fish that you see, and the different ways you can interact with different elements in the game, make it a really, really enjoyable experience. And so if you're looking, and again, I'm going to make a comparison after I just got done saying so, but if you
kind of have to.
Yeah, if you're looking for something of that nature where it's not a game per se, but it is, man, go get Abzu, and it's $20 on Steam right now. I don't know.
It's almost kind of more like an experience, than a game.
Yeah, really.
Because it's linear. Journey was extremely linear. Like, there was no deviation from the path. It was just more like an experience, and it was like you didn't really die during the game, for the most part, until obviously the end. Spoiler alert. I said that at the wrong time, but it's more like an experience. Would that be fair to say?
I think that'd be accurate. And Abzu feels a little...
Without sounding pretentious or something?
Yeah, and Abzu's a lot of the same, right? It's a little more open, but you do really just have one path, at least that I've experienced so far. But man, it's really good. And it looks like, I just checked it, it looks like it's been as low as $6 on Steam. So probably during a Steam sale, you can get it for $6 or $10.
PC?
Yeah, PC. Yeah.
Nice.
So
I'll buy that.
I mean, so far it just depends how you want to rank value. Like, is it worth $20? I think the answer is yes, but not if you can get it for $6.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't recommend. I mean, what is it? It's February, so I don't know. We'll have a Steam spring sale coming up here pretty quick.
Otherwise, I'll snag that. I thought you were saying it was like on PS4 or something, and I was like,
I got it on PS4, but it is on Steam as well. So
yeah, because I got Journey on PS3.
Yeah, it's not on PS3. So.
Gotcha. I wonder if I still have Journey, by the way. I know I bought it. Oh, yeah, I should go download that again and check it out.
Yeah, I got it for free because I bought it on PS3. I just took a drink of my water and started spilling everywhere. But I got it free for PS4 when that came out because they re-released it. And so I started playing it again because I wanted the trophies. And I have played through it twice, so this would have been my third time. And even the third time, I was like, God, this is so fucking good.
I know. I played it 4 times one day. It was crazy.
Yeah. So hopefully, hopefully Abzu kind of delivers on some of that same experience. So far it has. I've read a lot of mixed reviews on it, but so far I'm really enjoying it. So.
Oh yeah, and I trust me, I know this microphone is really, really hot, so you've probably been hearing that clicking and stuff like that. That's me looking through the images of Abzu. Yeah, you really got to make that comparison. It's unavoidable. You have to make that comparison to Journey to some extent. I don't know about the actual experience or gameplay or whatever, but art style is the same for pretty much.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which is cool. Which is great. The art style is amazing. It's awesome. I could use more games like that, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So cool. I'm pretty stoked. I'm gonna definitely keep an eye on Steam for that. If you happen to see it or something, let me know.
Yeah, if I see it for cheaper or whatever, I'll just gift it to you and fucking PayPal me or something.
All right.
So anyway, so let's move on to the Master System. So
that segues perfectly into Master System.
I'm going to use words like segue because I just went to a podcasting convention.
Yeah.
So the Saturday, I was like, I'm going to play Ghouls and Ghosts. And so sometimes when I'm going to boot up some of these old retro games, I'll take a picture and throw it online. And someone's like, oh, I've never seen that box art before for Ghouls and Ghosts. I was like, oh yeah, it's a US version. And then I was like, yeah, I wonder what this is going for on eBay now. And I checked, and there's a bunch of listings at like $300, $400.
That's unbelievable.
I was like, what the fuck? So anyway, then I checked the sold listings, and there's a bunch of sold listings for like 80 or 100, like what we probably paid for it.
Yeah, that's about what it's worth.
And so I'm guessing it's somebody, maybe it's creating multiples, and then they'll just end their other ones if they get a sale to try to drive the market up. I don't know what the goal is here because they haven't sold at that price. Yeah. But that's not the first I've seen of like Master System stuff skyrocketing. So there's 2 Master Systems listed locally here with boxes, mind you. One doesn't have a box, one does. The one with the box and like a couple shitty games, the guy has it listed for $525.
What? That's insane.
And then there's a guy that has it with like 10 games and no box. And then he's got like the sports pad and the trackball and stuff. He's got it listed for $375.
What?
I'm like,
where do they get these numbers from anyways?
I don't know where they're getting the numbers, but I've noticed that Master System has been getting a lot more focus. And I think people are kind of just looking for that. Oh, what am I going to collect, right? Because retro is still pretty hot right now, obviously, and we love it. But it's like, I love the Master System, but like by no stretch is it a great library of games. I mean, it does a lot of things great, and I think there's a lot of really good stuff on it. But like, some of the most collectible games and most rare games on that system are shit. Right. Like Ghouls and Ghosts doesn't play good.
It looks amazing.
It does look amazing. It looks like a Genesis game.
It does. The graphics, they went all out on that, but the problem is it's laggy as hell to the point where it's unplayable.
Yeah, the slowdown is garbage. It kind of has the Altered Beast problem too, where you're like, oh my god, how'd they get Altered Beast running on a Master System? And then you play it, and it's just like,
no, they kind of didn't.
Yeah, you're like, oh, this actually really doesn't run on the Master System. But yeah, I mean yeah, it's crazy to me though that that's why I do love the Master System though, man. They're like, fuck it, it's not going to run good, but it'll look cool. Like Captain Silver looked good in comparison. Double Dragon was the only version that you could actually play 2 players on as far as consoles went. So yeah, I thought I'd have more there, but yeah, it's just funny that some of these Master System games are really starting to take a spike, or kind of spiking again, and I'm just not quite sure why.
Yeah, again, we're in that retro phase right now, and who knows if that'll ever go away, because
we've been in it for 3 years. We're at episode 106. Not all retro, but certainly
3 or maybe even 4. I don't even know. Maybe longer than that. Who knows? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, again, we've talked about this at length too. Like, why is this happening? And it's people from our generation that grew up with a lot of this retro stuff, and I think we drive it up a lot, and then I think there's a lot of new interest in it as well. So I don't know.
Which is good. I mean, hey, I'm all for it, man. I want as many people to enjoy the hobby as possible, but I wish we got our collections done outside of a game or two. Technically, if you're looking for alternates. So I mean, it is what it is. So
stupid Outrun.
Yeah. So right on. Well, speaking of retro, so last week, and I didn't put this in the notes, but I remembered I want to hit on this. So we took a little bit of heat, Mitch, with the Framemeister. And we were kind of talking about like, it's just haters, but then we're hating on the Framemeister. So what I want to do is...
how I remember that, I was like, I don't really have an opinion. So
yeah. Well, it's just a couple people. But here's what I want to do, because I was pretty vocal about it.
Did I take heat for being a pacifist?
No.
Probably.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm just kidding.
So here's what I want to do. I just want to... So the Framemeister, let me backtrack a little bit here. The Framemeister certainly has great uses, especially if you have a 1080p TV. What I'm speaking about is the Framemeister's $300, and so let me preface this by saying, if you want to go down the Framemeister route, it's certainly an option, and the console mods are cool, and RGB mods are cool, and all that stuff is fun. Knock yourself out. But what I found was, now this is kind of 4K TV specific, but the Framemeister's $300. And not everyone wants to buy a new TV or buy this other hardware and yada, yada, yada. But on 4K TVs, the pixel density is such that your games upscale perfectly. And some of the TVs have upscalers and some of them don't. They kind of just stretch the image. But when you're talking about taking what's essentially a old school game that multiplies into the 4K resolution perfectly, with that pixel density of 4 million pixels, I can't tell the difference between the Framemeister and going directly into my TV, other than the fact that the Framemeister does add more lag in this instance because it's another component to the chain of components. So if you're thinking about a Framemeister, I would just encourage you to think about maybe looking at some of the cheaper 4K TVs. Now, I know that that's certainly not like the best solution. Like, I don't want a new TV. Totally get it. That's fine. But if you're not going to go CRT, the new 4K TVs look awesome. Like, all of my systems look great. Just plug directly into the freaking TV. If you have a KS8000 or one of the newer TVs that doesn't have component, where you can plug composites into component, you can get a component to HDMI box for like $20 on Amazon, and I posted a picture of this on our Twitter account, where you can still plug composite into this little component box. You just plug the yellow into the green in this instance, and it'll go to HDMI, and your TV will upscale perfectly. It's an awesome solution. In addition, and this is the other thing as far as RGB mods and things going, and this is again going to depend on TV, but if you're looking, you could be looking at thousands of dollars when you start talking about mods and cables and Framemeisters and stuff. So it's like, if you can knock it out and get a new TV, it might be an option for you. Not an option for everybody, but it might be a good option. Is both of my 4K TVs allow me to set and save color preferences, right? And so I can save, like, I can set a color preference and then save it into memory. So I can set a color preference and save, like, SNES. I can save Master System, right? And so is that going to give you true RGB? Well, no. RGB is going to look like RGB, but I can change. There's enough advanced settings with the reds, the blues, the greens, the magentas, the yellows, the teals, that I can get every system to look exactly how I want it to, and then just save my color setting into memory. And so I guess my forward thinking about retro gaming moving forward, if you're not going to do it on CRT, is it's damn near impossible to not buy a 4K TV right now. And knowing that, I just don't know if I would go invest in a Framemeister when within the next couple years you're probably going to buy a 4K TV anyway. And on both of mine, my systems look as good, if not better, not using the Framemeister. So is what it is. I just wanted to get that out there, just not completely hating on it, but think about that when you start thinking about the amount of money you might start dropping into SCART cables, HDMI mods, RGB mods, Framemeisters, capture equipment, blah 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 blah. Like, I go straight into my TV. Well, technically, I don't go straight into my 4K TV. I actually go into my CRT. But I go to my CRT, and then I split off my composite cables into a monoprice HDMI upscaler that then goes into an AverMedia capture box, and I can capture 1080p upscaled content right on my PC. So that's an option. And one more thing about the Framemeister, for those concerned with the 1080p, if you're using fake scan lines were 1 every 3 lines, so you have to upscale to 720p, and then your 1080p is still stretching it anyway. So if you use fake scan lines and have your Framemeister set to 1080p, you're doing it wrong. That looks like shit. You're supposed to set your Framemeister to 720p with the fake scan lines, and then you're still upscaling it on your TV side anyway. So just an FYI.
So what you're trying to tell me is that you're doubling down.
What do you mean?
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, no, I'm not. No, I wanted to be a little more positive about it, because last week we were both kind of in rare form as far as shitting on everything. And so, so I kind of wanted to dial that back a little bit and say, look,
it was exciting.
I
got my wife finally told me like twice, texted me and was like, "Shut the fuck up."
Yeah. So I was
pretty animated. I was hype, man.
You were hype, yeah. So I wanted to dial it back. Like, certainly there are people where the Framemeister is perfectly a perfectly good option, but I was just saying, looking forward as far as gaming and retro, if you want to do it on an LED LCD, these 4K TVs do an awesome job upscaling, and check that out before you spend the $300 and check out that component thing. And literally, I posted a picture, but any of those component to HDMI upscalers should accept composite and allow you to change your retro games to an HDMI signal that your TV should be able to see. At least both of mine do, and I've tried it. So check them out. And if not, Amazon returns everything, right? So they'll take
until you return too much stuff, and then you get banned.
Yeah, that one guy. I wonder what the story was there, but
that's hilarious. But. I mean, if you just want to buy a Framemeister and it works for you, I think we pretty much don't care. Go for it. Yeah, for the most part, right?
Yeah, and I think the one thing that was kind of ignored last week, I was like, I get it. I went down that path. I get it. It's fun to geek out on that shit. And like, what's this do? What's that do? But at the end of the day, the game is the game, right? And I know you want the visual fidelity, but there are more options out there now to get there, and you might find more value in saying, hey, you know what? I might just spend an extra $300-$500 and maybe just upgrade my TV, and I'm gonna get a nice upscaler along with that. So just think about that, But if you still want the Framemeister, go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. I think part of that conversation originally with us started with people that were buying Framemeisters, but then like shitting on how people retro game or something like that. It's something in that respect where it was like, I'm all about my Framemeister, but this person isn't retro gaming, or it's not legitimate or something like that, or it's not like this isn't legitimate. Like EverDrive's not a legitimate. Whatever. I think our conversation, by the way, just for a little context, like episodes back, kind of started from that as well, where it was kind of like double speak,
Right. Yeah, it was some. Yeah, it did start there because it was like, it was actually probably 10 or 15, try 10 episodes back, but the conversation was exactly that. It was people saying EverDrives aren't legit. I'm using Surfer Guy voice because that's what I do when I use someone else's voice. It was
totally, it's appropriate. That's how they all talk.
Yeah, it was. EverDrives aren't retro gaming because it's not the original games. Watch me hook my Framemeister up.
It's not the original hardware.
Right. Yeah. Watch me hook my Framemeister up to my LED. It's like, well, your LED isn't really original hardware either. If you really want to break down the entire experience.
Yeah, if you want that's basically what it was, with us basically saying, well, how is that a legitimate retro gaming experience? Who are you to judge who's having a legitimate retro gaming experience when you're using a goddamn Framemeister?
Right.
That's where that whole conversation had come from as well.
That's exactly what it started with. And then kind of what got me going last week was I just keep hearing so many people saying, well, fuck 4K and HDR. I just went and bought this Framemeister, and I'm like, well, you just told me visual fidelity doesn't matter, and now you just spent $300 to upgrade the visual fidelity of your retro games, and it's like, maybe HDR and 4K aren't for you, but I really enjoy it, and I'm not going to say Framemeisters aren't for somebody else, because other people certainly enjoy that. I'm just saying that the people that I heard ripping on 4K, like literally in the next breath were like, I picked up a Framemeister. Like, you just got done ripping on like 4K and visual fidelity, and now you're talking about upgrading 30-year-old games to look better. So that was kind of it in a little bit of context. So yeah, so I was just like, it just depends on whose hobby it is, and that's fine. Yeah, again, to my point earlier, not everybody has to like everything, and that's why we have opinions. But it is what it is. So,
what kind of gamer are you?
Right, wrong, or indifferent, is what it is.
Indeed. So yeah. Yeah, so you've got some Resident Evil. You actually had a pretty good story for your Resident Evil.
Yeah,
let's hit that before we
close out.
Yeah,
I'll save the Game Gear thing. So I ripped the Game Gear apart. I haven't totally got to fixing it yet, so I'll save that topic for next week because I'll start desoldering some of that stuff and getting that put together this week. So, anyways, Resident Evil 7. I've been chipping away at this game. Man, I try to put my big boy pants on to play this fucking thing, and it scares the shit out of me every single time.
Instead, you fill them with shit.
Instead, I fill them with shit. So so much for cleaning up the podcast.
Oh yeah, no.
I'm not gonna even...
Anybody by now that's been listening to us knows that
it's 106.
If you got to this point, then you've probably been offended multiple times.
Well, and if not, good. I don't, it's probably if you're offended, I just hope you turn the podcast off and not listen, because obviously the content isn't directed at you. But so here's the thing. So Saturday night, so I'm about 4 hours in, right? And so I've got about 5 or 6 hours left. It sounds like, and Carrie goes to bed about 9 o'clock. Saturday night, I've got that CPAP now, so I'm fucking all energized. Everyone's to bed. I'm like, I'm gonna play Resident Evil 7. I'm gonna fucking stay up until this game is done. And I sat down. I get all comfy. I go make myself a cocktail. I get I turn the lights off. I'm like, I'm gonna get all into this. I got it. I'm this far in. This thing isn't gonna scare me anymore. I had just cleaned up all of my daughter's toys. All that stuff's out of the way. And 2 toys were up on the couch because I didn't want them all over the floor. And so I sit down and I'm start playing Resident Evil 7, and I'm scared shitless. Now, here's what happens. One of the toys on the couch is this little walker, like a walking training toy, right? Where Violet can kind of get up on it and stand and push it and fall down and whatever. And this thing makes noise when it moves. I have this thing on the freaking couch, and I don't have it turned off. I have my headphones on. I bump the couch in a way that this thing barely moves, and all I hear is, hey, let's go for a walk. I jumped up and almost shit. I was
there's just shit spraying everywhere.
I was so scared. I got goosebumps right now telling the story. I was so scared. I was like, nope, done. I fucking grabbed that toy. I turned it off. I was ready to break that damn thing. I was like, nope, I am done. I went to bed. I was like, I'm done. I'm going to bed. So that happened. Yeah, it was the most terrifying thing ever. You should hear this thing. I will record it so I can play it for you next week.
Maybe we should open the show up with it next week.
Yeah, it's the most terrifying sound. It's like, it's cute when you don't hear it in the context of you're already scared in this house, and all of a sudden in your own house you hear like this clown laugh. Yeah. Oh my God. It was the worst. It was the worst.
So
it was the worst.
Did you ever finish Resident Evil 7?
Hell no. I haven't turned it back on. Actually, I did turn it back on Sunday. I played about another hour on Sunday. So I think I'm just about halfway through it, it sounds like. And I'm not going to lie. If I get stuck on this game, I've been jumping into the walkthrough. People are like, you're a huge pansy. You're like, yeah, I am. If I get stuck in this thing, I'm not running around this creepy-ass house scaring the shit out of myself any more than I need to. I give it like a good... I give it the old college try of like a couple times, and if I don't get through it in a couple times, then I go to a walkthrough. I'm only gonna go through so many pair of underwear before I call it a day. So
totally, you got the brown skids and the whitey tighties.
Yeah, I don't wear whitey tighties. I wear boxer briefs, but yeah, they were skid marked. They were skid marked up. Speaking of brown streaks, since we diverge into this, when it comes to pooping,
when does it not diverge into this?
I think we talked about this, probably not on the podcast. When it comes to pooping, are you a clumper or a wrapper?
What does that mean?
See, I clump the paper in my hand and wipe, but there's a few odd folk out there that wrap their entire hand in TP and kind of wipe it like that.
I don't think so. I don't think. Well, first of all, if I ever did in the first place, I probably wouldn't wrap it around my hand. I'm much too lazy for that.
Yeah, I just kind of pull it off the thing and just tear it and just kind of put it in my hand and just take care of business back there.
Totally.
Yeah, it came up on the Giant Bomb podcast, and I was like, I wonder if Mitch knows about this hand wrapping thing.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't even bother with either. I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Anyway.
No, dude, there's no way I would do. I've never even heard of that. I have noticed some roommates before though, where I'm like, do you eat toilet paper?
Well, I use a ton of toilet paper, but.
Well, yeah. I mean, we weren't roommates. Well, yeah, we were roommates for a short period of time, but in Minneapolis, but. Yeah, I just sometimes, you're one of those people where I'm like, do you fucking eat toilet paper?
I go to town.
Are you gonna be on My Strange Addiction or something with the guy that fell in love with his car, or the girl that drank gasoline or something? You're gonna be like, I eat toilet paper.
I'm not gonna lie, I've used a roll in one session before.
Damn, dude, that must have been messy.
Yeah, well, it was kind of one of them it's kind of one of them endless wipes. And then, you're halfway in, and you're like, oh, I gotta poop again. And you're like, well,
damn.
There goes a whole situation. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. I expect to see you on one of those shows. I'll nominate you for it or something like that one time. I'm not gonna be surprised when you end up on that show, is what I'm trying to say. So.
Yeah, right on.
Anyway. Good question, though. Good talk.
All right. Good talk. I don't know. I don't know. I don't have anything else.
I don't either. I'm good to go for this episode, but yeah, I guess, what did we say? We were on episode 106?
106, player.
I totally forgot. All right, well, for episode 106 of the RetroGameFix.com Retro Jones podcast, this is Mitch.
And this is Michael.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
There's a way this city died.